There is 5 minutes left. Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. So, are you taking an IELTS examinations? What do you know about the reading paper? And are you have any problems with any types of questions? If your answer is yes, this video is for you. In the coming minute, we will give you further information about 2 types of reading exercises, which is the most confusing and misunderstanding in my personal experience. Now, let's move to the first type of reading exercise, matching heading. Let me describe basically about the structures as well as the manner to complete one matching heading task. We often see the requirement like this. Each of the text has 7 paragraphs from A to G. Choose the correct headings for each paragraph from the list below. As being written before, each paragraph is labeled with the number or the letters. Your job is to match them with the correct headings covering the main idea of the whole paragraphs. This type of exercise is considered as the most difficult and confusing for 2 main reasons. First of all, there is a lot of information included in the text. However, the main techniques for doing this type of exercise are skimming and scanning, which requires you fast enough reading speed to read throughout the text. However, in some situations, there is not enough time for candidates to read throughout the text to find the correct answer. And as a result, they have to repeat the circle again to find out the answer or the question given. Secondly, in terms of vocabulary, the reader often misunderstood for the connection between the paragraphs and the headings due to the repeated words. Also, there are some academic words or collocation that they haven't never met before. Students have a tendency to find out the exact words or try to figure out the relationship based on the words appearing in both paragraphs and the headings.
So, the question is, what are the most effective strategies to solve this problem? Here come 2 our suggested tips. Firstly, check how many questions you need to answer. How many extra answers are there? If you are matching heading, don't use any answer more than one. Secondly, read the text to find out the main idea for each paragraph. You don't need to read the whole text. It will take too long and you don't have time for this. In this kind of question, you are only expected to work out the main idea of each paragraph. And to do this, we only need the first, second, and the last sentence. To be more specific, most paragraphs will have a mini introduction which often tell you what the paragraph is about. Now look at this example and find out the suitable heading. So, what answer will we choose? A. Types of settlements. B. Urban divisions. C. Town facilities. The answer can be seen in the first and also the topic sentence. The word divided is a signal to find out the correct answer. B. However, even if you think you know the answer, make sure that you read the last sentence to check your ideas. Another thing you need to remark, if there are words you don't understand, don't worry about this. Again, you should only worry about the general meaning of the whole paragraph, not individual words. Even native speakers will fail to understand every single word in the IELTS reading text. Next, read the headings and identify keywords within each heading. Be aware of synonyms. Many students only look for words that match exactly which words in the text and ignore synonym. Come back to the previous example. Notice the use of the synonym urban to replace town. It is common to see synonym in the matching heading question. If there are 2 or 3 headings are similar, write them beside the paragraph and try to find out the difference between the 2 headings. If you still cannot decide which one suits best, move on and come back to it later. The answer will normally be easier to find after you have matched some more headings.
Next, I want to emphasize that there is no need to panic if you don't know the first thing about the general topic of the reading test. An IELTS reading test is not a knowledge test, and you're not expected to have prior knowledge about the topic. What is more, it's advisable to know what you have already known about the topic, as the text may provide you with whole different information from what is stuck in your mind. Lastly, don't read too quickly. It's ordinarily advised that you should skim the text quickly as you don't have much time, but in my experience, this may lead to students not understanding the text comprehensively and making mistakes. So it's better to slow down and comprehend what is in front of you. So now, to sum up, we recommend a general strategy for this reading session. Step 1. Browse through all the headings first, but don't waste too much time on them as some of them are invalid. Step 2. Identify and underline keywords. Try to remember them as much as possible, and in the meantime, any similarities and differences between headings should be annotated clearly in the margin of the text, in order that you can see it easily. Step 3. Read each individual paragraph. Focus on the first and the last sentence. And it's also important that you should skim through other sentences within the paragraph, as the main idea would be apparent until the third or the second sentence. Step 4. Choose the headings that closely matches the paragraph. It's good practice to cross the used headings out so that the answers may become clearer to see. Repeat these steps until your test is done.
Hey, so moving on our next area of interest, which is IELTS reading yes, no, and not given strategy. Okay, so these question types are somewhat controversial. So I would like to start with the basic principles of how it works and followed by some tips to tackle the problems, which will be mentioned later. Okay, so in this module, you'll be given a list of sentences, and based on the given article, your task is to simply put, number 1, yes, if the statement agrees exactly with the information in the text. You should look for synonyms and phrases that have the same meaning with the details in the text. 2. You should put no if the statement contradicts the information in the text in some way. Be careful with the antonyms and some little words such as little, always, often, and so on. This is how the test deceives the examinees. And number 3, you should put not given if the fact which is given is not mentioned in the text. This is the one that causes the most problems normally, and do not spend time looking for the not given answers, as you will waste your precious time during the test. So at this point, you can see that yes, no, not given, and true, false, not given share the same technique to tackling. So right now, I would like to draw your attention to the difference between those two. On the IELTS test, the question type will be true, false, not given when the reading passage is giving factual information about a topic. But it will be yes, no, not given if the reading passage is all about the writer's opinion. In other words, it's not about the fact, but what the writer is thinking. This is the one that makes this question type trickier than the other one. To be more specific, you have to read between the lines, trying to figure out what the writer is trying to deliver.
So, can you guess possible difficulties of this model? As the previous speaker stated before, all the questions are all around the logical thinking of the writer. So, that means the candidates have to ask themselves questions. What does the writer think about the case? Does he or she agree or disagree? Normally, the questions are not mentioned directly in the text, and also the emotions of the writer are hidden behind the words. So all the candidates have to make a guess to find out the correct answer for the given question. Secondly, not all of the candidates have prepared for themselves with the plentiful sources of academic works or collocation to meet the requirement of the text.
On this part of the video, I would like you to take a look at some techniques that cope with yes, no, and not given questions. There are many difficulties and traps which drive you to choose the wrong answer. And here's some 5 useful and essential tips to help you overcome the trouble. First of all, do not read the question statement before you read the text. The simple argument for this is logic. While looking at the given answer, you might not distinguish whether the information is actually from the passage or it is something that you've been recently learned. So again, the question statement should only be read before you read the whole text. Next, you should spend a little time analyzing the question statement. Many students tend to jump up to quickly read the statement and try to find out the answer. I do not recommend you utilize this technique. I suggest highlighting the keyword, look at the meaning behind it, and then come back to the passage to find evidences. The coming up strategies is to paraphrase. IELTS vocabulary is very big on paraphrasing. It contains a wide range of different expressions with the same meaning. So it means that when looking at the question statement, you do need to think of possible paraphrases at the same time, which will help to identify where the answer is. Number 4, if you are supposed to write true or false, you are not allowed to write yes or no instead. Remember to write the whole word, not just a first letter. And last but not least, ignore anything that you've learned about the topic and don't make any assumption. Remember, the text is the only place where you can find the answer, not your personal thinking. Thank you for watching our video. If you like it, please like and subscribe our video.